So today's video is for the people who are struggling to enjoy their training, whether that be individual training or team training, but mostly I'm talking about individual training. They're just struggling for motivation. They're struggling to, you know what I'm saying? They're struggling to find it fun to put in the work. And to be honest, I get it because when you're really training hard and you're focused and your trainings are intense and you're just really locked in about becoming a better player, and you do that consistently, it takes its toll. I can't lie. Like it's not only physically tiring, but it's mentally tiring as well to just sort of stay in that zone during training, just trying to make sure you're improving every single training session. Just let's say you're doing a drill where you're doing a finishing drill where you're trying to finish the ball, you're trying to score, you're having 10 shots and you only score 3 times. Obviously, when you only score 3 times, you're probably going to be mad at yourself. You're probably going to be like, it needs to be better. So you come back the next day, you try to get 4, then the next day you try to get 5, 6, 7, and so on. And obviously, all the time trying to improve that all the time. Whether it's dribbling, passing, shooting, like I said, defending, your speed. Obviously, that can be mentally taxing. That can be, like I say, yeah, mentally tiring. And it's like, bro, sometimes you just want to go to the astral pitch, go to the field, go to the park, and just kick a ball around carefree, not really having to care about, oh, I have to do this, I have to lock in, I have to really focus on my dribbling today, I have to focus on my passing. Sometimes you just want to go and just mess around with your friends. Like even me, there'll be some days where, let's say my boys who don't really play football like that, they'll call me to the astral pitch and be like, yo, let's go to the astral pitch. Sometimes it's good for me because it's like I'm not so locked in on, trying to perfect this, trying to perfect that. I could just go to the astral and just have fun, with my boys. You know what I'm saying? Just do a bit of two touch, a bit of just shooting in the goals, some free kicks. Maybe we hop in a match if there's other people there. Like sometimes it's a good thing to sort of de-stress from that sort of, like, I'm saying, just locked in, trying to do individual training sessions all the time, just always trying to focus, always trying to think to yourself, okay, I scored 5 out of the 10 shots last training session. I have to get 6. I have to get 6. Okay, lock in. Because obviously when you're doing that every single day, obviously sometimes the weather's bad, it can be raining, hailstone, all of this. Obviously it takes its toll, and obviously if you do it too much, what's it called? If you do it too much, or for some certain people, they end up feeling burnt out. They end up feeling, I'm not really enjoying my training, blah blah blah. So today I'll just be talking about why you're not enjoying your training, how to actually make it enjoyable, and what part of the training should you actually find enjoyable. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like some people have a misconception of, I go to the pitch and every single drill is supposed to be fun. Like I'm a footballer. Um, football is a game at the end of the day. I'm meant to have fun. I'm meant to enjoy every single moment of it. So I feel like some people have got a misconception because not everything in life is fun. You know what I'm saying? Not every aspect of the game is going to be fun. There's going to be days where you're not feeling like you want to train. There's going to be days where you have to do passing, but you feel like you want to do shooting that day. You know what I'm saying? But you have to work on your passing. You know what I'm saying? Just little things like this that don't make the training as fun, that make it a bit boring, a bit repetitive. So yeah, today I'll be talking about why you don't find your training enjoyable. So I've told stories before about, you know what I'm saying, during the first COVID lockdown in the UK, and also the second lockdown in the UK, especially obviously in the first lockdown, the weather conditions were actually good. It was sunny, it was hot, there was even heat waves. I remember me and my cousin just training hard. And then obviously anytime we were tired, we would sit down and we would see sort of like the heat waves just going across like this. I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but you've just been sitting back and it's so hot that you just see the heat wave just going like this. You just see lines and all of that. But in the second lockdown, the weather was, because obviously the second lockdown was from like what, January to the end of March. So it obviously that lockdown, it was raining, it was even snowing, it was hailstones. But me, I was still outside, bro, because it was probably me and one other guy. We were both just outside still training. Like it was windy. I didn't have any gloves. My hands were flipping numb to the bone. You know what I'm saying? But I was still outside. I was still training. And obviously, some of them training sessions weren't particularly fun. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't describe them as like, oh yeah, I had so much fun in the cold. I had so much fun. You know what I'm saying? Getting my toes getting frozen over. Like I had so much fun. Like it wasn't really fun in that aspect in the short term. But obviously, I feel like when you're training to improve your game, the actual fun comes from you recognizing that, okay, I'm actually making improvements as a player. I'm making progress. The fun comes that when you step out onto onto the pitch for a match, you actually see, okay, I'm improving, I'm quicker, I've been working on my pace, and now I'm quicker. So when I go to do that step over and burst, I'm getting away from my fullback. I'm getting away from my fullback much more easily. Or if you're a centre mid, or if you're a centre mid in the game, you're saying to yourself, oh, okay, I've been working on my long passing. Now, anytime I ping the ball to my winger or my striker, my passes are getting to getting to the target much more often. And I feel like that's where the fun comes in. It's making those small steps of progression. Just recognizing that you're becoming a better player. I feel like that's where the fun is. That, you know what I'm saying? So obviously in the short term, it feels like, I don't want to train. This is boring. This is this. But trust me, in the long term, once you look back over like a 3 month period, a 6 month period, a year period, and you look at yourself and you're like, raw, I'm a much better player. Trust me, that's when you actually be addicted to training, because you're addicted to, because you're not actually addicted to the training, you're addicted to the results that the training will get you. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember I was even reading a book, Relentless by Tim Grover. I've shown the book before, Relentless by Tim Grover. He always has that same phrase, um, that all the elite athletes sort of live by. It's sort of like, you don't have to enjoy the work, but what's it called? Let me say that again. The athletes that he works with, they don't particularly enjoy the work, but they're just addicted to the results. And by the results, he literally just means the progression, just them becoming a better player, them just tweaking even in the smallest improvements, just the 1% improvements. That's what they're addicted to, and that's what you should be addicted to as well. You should be addicted to becoming that 1% faster, becoming that 1% better at shooting, becoming 1% better at that turn you do. If you're striking for your back to go, maybe you're addicted to, you know what I'm saying, um, making sure that you can score goals in one touch that before you're having to take two touches. You can score goals in two touches that before you're having to take in three touches. Just little things like that. Like, it's literally just about craving the end result. You know what I'm saying? The work is pretty much like, you know what I'm saying, it's hard, but I have to do it because yo, I need to become a better player if I want to become a professional footballer. So yeah, in my opinion, the motivation issue comes from when you've actually experienced becoming a better player, you've actually seen the improvements in your game. Trust me, you actually be addicted, because the first time I actually saw like major improvements in my game was probably from like I said, probably from like March to like May 2020. Those 3 months where I put in serious work for like the first time in my life. After that, yeah, after that, training didn't even feel hard to me. Like, I felt like, okay, cool. I feel like even if I didn't really want to feel like training, even if the weather was bad, I still knew in my head that, yo, the training might suck, the training might be dead today, but yo, those improvements I can get over 3 months are crazy. So I'm still gonna go out there and train. You know what I'm saying? It's all about the progression. It's all about the results. And I feel like even if you still taste that sort of first feeling of progression, and you're still sort of suffering badly with like, I still don't want to go out and train, I still don't feel like it, like, and you find yourself missing, let's say you have a 3 month period where you're grinding like an absolute soldier, like you're disciplined, you're on it, literally like you're in the military, you're grinding, and then you see those progressions, but then the next 3 months you're slacking. The next 3 months you're slacking. The next 6 months you're slacking. Instead of going out to train by yourself 3 times a week, you're going once every 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? And you're just lacking that motivation. I feel like if you're at that point, you sort of have to ask yourself, like, yo, do I actually want to become a pro? Do I actually want to do this? Like, or you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? What's the actual reason that I'm doing this? Am I doing this because I actually enjoy the game? I enjoy the process, or I'm just doing it because I know footballers get money. I see the girls, I see the cars, I see the houses, I see the fame, I see the Instagram followers, I see all of that, and I want that. Because I feel like as a pro footballer, like for me personally, I feel like I didn't have struggle with motivation, because my what I liked about being a footballer, or just being an athlete in general, like whether that's football, basketball, playing in the NFL, like whatever. I always enjoyed watching the training videos, like the actual training videos where the players would be in the gym lifting weights, working on mobility stuff, working on mobility, stability stuff, recovery work, and then they'd go out onto the pitch, and then they'll be zinging the ball, and you'd hear the ball just make like the perfect noise. Everyone's touch is just on point, because obviously they're just top players, so everyone's touch is just on point. Or you see the training videos what's called someone standing at the edge of the box, they're getting pinged the ball, they'll take the touchdown crispy like this, and they'll just whip it in the top corner, and every single player can just whip it in the top corner. Like for me personally, I always found that sick. Like I always found sort of the process leading up to the game. That's what I wanted. I wanted to have that feeling of like, oh, okay, these guys just get to train and get to just focus on just improving their skills for like 3, 4, 5 hours in a day. Like that's always what appealed to me, especially when I was in school and I was like, oh, I have to be in school for like 6 hours. Like this is dead. I want to be outside. You know what I'm saying? I want to be outside on the pitch, working on my game, training with teammates, just basically just live, just eat, sleep, breathe football. Basically, like that's always what I wanted, type of thing. You know what I'm saying? What's it called? I always wanted to have that feeling of like going into an academy and like you play football, you do gym work, then you go to like the cafeteria to go eat your food, then you go play football again. Like for me, that was what I always found that mad. I always found that sick. I always wanted sort of that lifestyle, just that training, gym. You know what I'm saying? Recovery work, getting to eat there, getting to eat food there as well. Then after food, you're going to train again. Then you're watching like match day film. What's it called? Tactical analysis, all of that. Like anytime I see that from like the Man City team, the England team, Man City, England, Arsenal, even Barca, like anytime I saw that, I was like, yeah, I want that. So that was my motivation. So I feel like that's one of the motivations that will actually drive you to become a footballer. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like all the other stuff outside of football, if you just want to be a pro footballer, like I said, sort of like the cars, the fame, the money, all of this. That's still cool. Obviously, me as well. I still want to be a pro footballer. I knew that's what came with it: the money, the cars, the fame. But obviously, that those weren't like the number one priorities. Those are probably like priority number 2, 3, and 4. You know what I'm saying? But number one priority was like I always just wanted to be in that sort of lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? For me, it's always been like just the lifestyle of just training, eating at the having the best facilities to train at. I feel like that's why I even like watching like when boxers when they go in their camps and you hear these stories of like, oh, they went to the mountains, they were training in the mountains, they were flipping wrestling grizzly bears and all that. They were sleeping there, just sleeping in the gym. Yeah, you hear those stories of like there'll be like 10 boxers and they're all just like they just eat, sleep, breathe boxing. They're just in the camp all day. They eat there, they train there, they sleep there. They're all just on the floor sleeping. Yeah, for me that's always been like that's what I always found mad cool in it. But yeah, I feel like if you're struggling with motivation, that's you have to look at yourself and be like, okay, why am I actually doing this for? Like, what do I actually want to gain out of it? And especially, you're not going to be motivated because if you want what's it called, if you want money from football, if you want cars from football, if you want this, if you want that, you can get those in other job professions. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, you're not going to have the motivation to to be a footballer because anytime it gets hard as a footballer, you're just going to be like, oh, what I want from football is money, but I can get money by doing this anyway. So let me just go do this instead. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's one of them ones where that's why I feel like a lot of people when they let's say a lot of people when they get released from an academy or they stop playing football. What do most guys immediately go do? They go start doing things that will get them money because that was their main motivation all the time. They start what's called they start reselling trainers. They start doing this. They start doing that. They start banging F. If you know, you know. So they start doing things like that because obviously their main intention for football was probably, let's say they grew up in a poor area. Their main focus was always like, okay, if I if I make it as a footballer, I can get a house for my mom, my dad, my sisters, my brothers, or whoever. Which is obviously still a big motivation. Like things like money, cars, and all of that. If that's your motivation, you can still go for it in it. Like I'm not judging you for your motivation because if let's say you're motivated by money and you eventually make it as a footballer, hey, if as long as you made it type thing in it. But I just feel like it's better to have what's it called? It's better for your motivations to be a lot more football based, just sort of enjoyment of the game, just enjoyment of the process. Because I feel like you're more likely to make it if that's your motivation, as opposed to I'm saying the money, the cars, like I said. But anyway, that's the vid for today. Hope you enjoyed. I've been JT, and I'm out.